Whoop, whoop. We are live. Okay, let me go ahead and share this. You guys know the drill, so just bear with me. Share in City Girl Savings. And then we will get started. If you are here with me live, say hi. If you're watching the replay, say hi. Super excited about today's topic. Okay. Share. Yay. Okay, that's shared. And now let's go live on Insta and we are good to go. All right. Live on Instagram, live on Facebook, live in the Facebook group. I'm golden. All right. Hello, everyone. Rhea Reeves here, founder and budget coach for City Girl Savings. Back at you with another live. Yay. So in honor of this week's Frugal Theme Week, which means every post on City Girl Savings social media this week is tailored towards frugal living and what it takes to really live frugally. In honor of that, today I am talking to you all about the key rules everyone needs to follow if they want to master a life of living frugally. So I'm really excited to dive into that. And before I do, I just want to share what frugal living means to me, because I will tell you, there was a point in time when I thought being frugal or, being conceived as frugal meant cheap. Meaning, you're cheap, you don't want to spend money even though you have it. And that's not the case. And throughout my decade of just coming to terms with personal finance and my own experiences, I have come to realize that being frugal is a great thing and it's something we should all strive for. So I want to start off by sharing what frugal means to me in case you all have any type of negative thoughts or connotations associated with the word, like I used to. Hey, Amanda, thanks for joining. I see quite a few Instagram folks on, so definitely say hi, and feel free to ask questions. All right, so what does frugal mean to me? Well, being frugal to me means being mindful of your spending. So it's not necessarily saying that just because you have money, you don't spend it. That is not the case. When you're frugal, you're mindful of where every dollar goes, whether it's on something that you need for yourself or not. So being mindful of where your money is going, and then take it a step further. Being frugal means you are able to tell the difference between a want and a need, and then take it a step further and actually don't spend money on things that you simply want. Even though you may be able to, right? You may have the money for it, but you have goals that you're working towards. So being frugal means that you are able to say, okay, I really want this, but it's not going to help me get towards my goals. I'm going to have to put it off for now. And then lastly, what frugal means to me is everything that I need and even some of the things I want. You guys know how important it is to budget and fun and, the things you enjoy in life. And I already did a live about that, but being frugal means that everything you need and some of the things you want in moderation is budgeted for. So you can spend your money on those things because it's in budget, you plan for it, you know exactly where your money's going, and you're mindful of it. So I just wanted to throw that out there, what frugal means to me. Frugal does not mean cheap. Frugal is not negative. So I hope that hearing my thoughts on the word helps you change your mindset if you are thinking frugal means cheap. I was there. So now let's dive into the rules for living frugally. What does it mean to live a life of frugality? What does it mean to be mindful of your spending, budget for the things you want and need? Well, I'm going to go through the 5 things that took me to a life of frugality instead of a life of overspending and being in denial of it. So first and foremost, first rule for frugal living is understanding the ins and outs of your money. So you guys know, I've preached this before, a budget is absolutely vital, right? Without a budget, you really don't know what money's coming in, you don't know what money's going out, you don't know what's left over, if anything, right? So you having a budget helps you understand exactly what money's coming in, what money's going out. And when you know what you make, when you know what money you bring in, you know what you spend, you know what you can afford to spend. Take it a step further. When you are living frugally, when you have a budget, when you know the ins and outs of your money, you know what to do if your income is larger than expected or smaller than expected. Maybe your hours got cut back. Maybe you came into a nice little chunk of change, inheritance, or anything like that. If you know that your income is going to be smaller than expected, you already know where you can cut back to make sure that you're okay. Your budget isn't thrown out the window. On the flip side, if your income is larger than expected, you know exactly where to put it. You know, maybe you can save more, maybe you get new breaks, or whatever the case may be. If your income is larger than what you budgeted, you already have a plan for it. So that's rule number one. Rule number two, live below your means. So notice I didn't say live within your means, which is also good, right? You got to live within your means before you can live below your means. But living below your means basically means that your income exceeds your spending and expenses, right? So that means you have a profit at the end of each month. Now, you can't be breaking even, right? Basically, you spend exactly what you make. Much better than being the opposite, right? Being negative every month. But when you have a profit at the end of each month, you can use that, and you should be using that profit to build your net worth. How do you do that? Well, you reduce your debt. So any debt you have, if you have a profit at the end of each month, you're working to reduce your debt or increase your savings. You know, if you don't have debt, great place to be. Build up that savings, or you're purchasing assets, anything that's going to help you increase your net worth over time. That's exactly what you want to do with your profit each month if you're living frugally. Okay, so moving on to rule number three, get rid of debt once and for all. And I know, easier said than done. I totally get it, but you can be frugal with debt, right? Like you can live below your means, you can know the ins and outs of your money, but if you have debt, you don't get all of the benefits of living frugally. You just don't, because debt is too expensive for you to maximize living frugally, right? So your goal should be to get rid of debt once and for all. This is an important rule for living frugally, or just working to obtain financial independence. So going back to, living below your means, you should be using your profit each month to pay off debt. And I highly recommend the snowball method. I have too many debts. How to get out of that? Well, you have to go back to your budget, right? See, do you have extra money left over each month? If so, anything extra needs to go to debt. So it's not going to be an overnight process, unfortunately. But if you are smart with it, you use your profit towards your debt, and you leverage a strategy like the snowball method, which I always recommend to my clients, you will see progress, I guarantee you. You just have to stay consistent. Okay, rule number 4 of living frugally. Know the difference between a want and a need. I touched on this a little earlier, but it's really easy to convince yourself you need something when you really don't. I mean, I've been there. I think we've all been there at some point in our lives, but you have to be able to train your brain to tell the difference, right? Yes, maybe you need a coat for winter, but do you need a nice fur coat? Probably not, right? So you got to get to a point where you can say, okay, what do I absolutely need? What's a non-negotiable? And what do I need to do to get it, more importantly? And if it's not a need, if it's just a want, do I really need this? Will life continue if I don't have this thing? Or are there cheaper alternatives, right? So maybe you really, really, really do need a nice quality jacket, but you don't have to buy the most expensive one, right? You can find cheaper alternatives that gets you exactly what you need without spending more than you should. So knowing the difference between a want and a need is very important when you are trying to live frugally. All right, last but not least, last rule of frugal living, which I think is one of the most important, although they're all important. Plan and save for your goals. Okay, so this requires patience, right? Discipline, because unless you win the lottery, which most of us will never do that, your success is not going to be overnight. So that means you have to set goals and you have to work to achieve those goals. And setting goals is so important because it helps you remember why you're working so hard. If you're struggling, if all of your extra money is going to debt, your goals should remind you of why you're in this position, right? What are you working so hard for? So if you guys participated in the New Year Goal Planning Challenge, you already know you want to focus on 1 to 3 big goals every year. You don't want to overextend yourself. If you don't have a lot of extra income at the end of each month, just focus on one goal. If you don't have debt, or maybe you do have a large profit each month, focus on 2 or 3, all right? But I would say cap it at 3. And then for those 1 to 3 goals, set time frames. When do you want to achieve them? And how much will you need to save to achieve those goals? And is it realistic for that time frame? So for example, let's say your goal is to save $10,000 and you want to do it in 5 months, but you can only afford to save $1,000 a month. Obviously, that would mean you would save $5,000 in 5 months. Granted, you can always cut things back, but you got to be realistic with yourself. So maybe you extend that time frame, right? So extend it to 8 months instead of 5 months, and you cut back a little extra in your budget to make sure you hit that time frame. But you want to make sure that your time frame is realistic based on your situation, and that you calculate exactly what you need every month, every paycheck, however you want to do it, so that you can reach that goal by that time. And then lastly, make budget adjustments to help you save. I mean, if there are any areas you can cut back in your budget, always start with discretionary, you know, the fun spending stuff, start there. Usually most people can make cutbacks there. So track your spending so you know exactly what you're spending in those areas, and then make adjustments from there. Now, living frugally will make it so much easier for you to save for your goals. So it kind of like works with each other, right? A rule of frugal living is planning and saving for your goals, but when you do live frugally, it makes it so much easier to actually achieve those goals. So those are my 5 rules for frugal living. Let me know if you are doing any of them, if you have any questions about frugal living, and I hope you guys stay tuned for the rest of the frugal theme week, and I will see y'all next time. Thanks for tuning in. Bye, everyone.